leading the center's goal to provide technical research competence to the University of Makati faculty members, students, and administrative personnel. Let's welcome for his opening remarks the Center for University Research Director, Florante E. de los Santos.
Hello, everyone, including those who are attending virtually. Robert Stenberg, the present-day guru of intelligence, writes that the major factor in whether people achieve expertise is not some fixed prior ability, but purposeful engagement. I repeat, it is not some fixed prior ability, but purposeful engagement. Today's engagement is the 7th in a series of research lectures courtesy of our center, the Center for University Research, and the Office of the Vice President for Planning and Research, which started this March this year and will culminate with the Research Congress in October. As always, we welcome not just members of UMak, but also faculty and students from other universities and colleges, including high schools. Grateful that Wolfram Mathematica has included UMak to the list of universities and schools that they have visited, including University of the Philippines, Diliman, Ateneo de Manila University, De La Salle University, UP Los Baños, Polytechnic University of the Philippines, and the Philippine Science High School, and I think also UST tomorrow, to present to us one helpful software tool that can help us in education and research. And so I'm happy to welcome you all to this 7th research lecture, and this time on Wolfram Mathematica. God bless everyone.
Thank you, Sir Rante, for highlighting the need for purposeful engagement for learning. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to introduce our resource speaker for today. He joined Wolfram Research as a member of the International Business Development Group, where he works with customers in Southeast Asian countries, Pakistan, and the South African region. Prior to joining Wolfram Research, he worked for 10 years in the oil and gas industry. He provides Mathematica trainings and seminars at universities, community colleges, and high schools in his region. His experience in working with educators on how to integrate Mathematica into their courses. Everyone, Mr. Farid Pasha.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for such a warm welcome and kind words from our host today to introduce me. It's really a privileged honor for me to visit Philippines in this week, and I get to chance to meet all those bright future brains of this country. And I have met with people, and I can say that Philippines do have the brightest of the brightest minds available. It's just we need to channel those energies in the right direction. And that is one of the main reasons of my visit in this week is to go around certain universities and high schools even and introduce a computational package which can help in the advancement of this work, which can be used in both teaching as well as for research purposes. Because during my education as well, and now working with Wolfram for the last 12 years now, one thing I have noticed that the way of teaching and the learning has changed a lot. Before it was very traditional blackboard, one way of transmission of, in my terms, I'd say transmission of data, which was coming from the professors and going towards the students. Now things have become more like a to and fro communication, where the sessions have to be more dynamic in nature. It does not needs to be only one way. The flow of information has to be both way to proceed further. And on the same principle, I would also like to continue with today's session. And I would like this session to be more interactive in nature, rather than you sitting over here either in this beautiful cold auditorium or joining me on the virtual network. I want you to ask questions. I want you hear your thoughts. What are you looking for? Because if you are spending a very important time of your day here with me, we should utilize this time to learn something, to get something, know something which is new. And that is the biggest objective of this session. So at any stage of the time, you need to ask any question, just stop me there and ask me, Farid, can we do this, or how we can do this? So that will also help me in continuing with this session. So let's rock and roll. My first question is normally, how many of you have heard about Wolfram? Very few. How many of you have used Mathematica before? Very few. So let's start by giving you a little bit more introduction of what my organization is, what we do. But I'm pretty sure if you're a student, you might have heard of Wolfram Alpha, because that is very famous among students. And we will see what that does in few minutes. So let's start. So what is Wolfram is? So we were basically founded by Stephen Wolfram. How many of you have heard about Stephen Wolfram? So he's also from the academic background. When back in 1980s, he was doing his PhD from Oxford. At those time, the computational packages available to him were not as per his standards. And he thought, let's start and develop something new. And that was his motivation, to start something which can help him in his research, which can help him in his computational analysis. And that is the start of Wolfram research, which is based in USA. And the main flagship product is Mathematica, which was launched back in 1987. I don't want to brag a lot about this information, but almost 10 of the Nobel Prize winners, which are associated or affiliated with the field of physics, have used Mathematica aggressively in their work. So if this is your field, this is your objective, this is a tool which can help you in that. I'm not saying it is the tool you need, it is just a helping tool. All the efforts still have to come from you. Then in 2009, we released Wolfram Alpha. So what was Wolfram Alpha? Wolfram Alpha was basically a web-based solution which will take your natural plain English input. Like you can ask it something in the plain English language, and it will try to give you a computed result for that. Let's take an example for that. So let's open Wolfram Alpha page. So this was launched back in 2009. And you could ask any questions just writing by something in plain English. Like in this example, I ask it like, what's the damped harmonic oscillator with forcing? So I'm not writing any code or syntax. It's just a browser-based application. And you see it gives a lot more information about this product. What are the formulae of this? What are the damping ratios? It gives you certain displacements, graphs, a lot more information regarding amplitude versus driving angular frequency. So it's a nice learning environment which will give you a lot more information. Maybe if I ask something in plain English like double pendulum, and let's see what information I can get from here. So I can see it gives me a input tool where I could enter some values, like what are the initial angles, lengths, masses for the body. And then it gives me the equation, results, schematic diagram, where I can see how the double pendulum looks like, and some animation of that how this is moving around. And then it also gives me the tool where I can change my values. So for example, I don't want the initial value to be 57, I said to be 70. Maybe the initial length. I want to explore and learn what happens if I change this thing. What happens if the initial angle of second one is maybe decreased? And then I can compute it again to see what is now the change as compared to the previous simulation. And you see now the schematic looks different because I've given a specific site of input, and then the trajectory of that is also changed. So this is a nice learning tool, and we launched that back in 2009. Does it resembles you to something which is very latest released? Yes, ChatGPT. But this is not, see, ChatGPT is an LLM model. Wolfram Alpha is not an LLM model. So in ChatGPT, yes, you can write something in plain English, and it gives you essays, or it gives you a lot of document of that. But that is the feature of an LLM. We are not an LLM company. We do not say that LLM is our strength. No. We are a computational organization. We deal with computations. But we are proud to say that we are number one in the computations. So, and this gives you also an idea how the technology evolves. At that time, when 2009 we launched this, using an plain English input was not very relevant. But then the transformation of the technology happens, and now it is used for very different formulas. And no doubt, ChatGPT 3 and now 4 is a phenomenal achievement we have seen in this decade. And a lot more is going to come in the future also. And with 2012, we also then released a new feature of Wolfram Alpha, which was using the math OCR. Now what it does at that time, like if you have a Mathematica, you have a mathematics notebook, like textbook, and that has a equation written on that. All you need to do is take a picture of that and upload it to Wolfram Alpha. And it will decode that picture into the correct mathematical notation and still give you the result for that. So that is how the Wolfram Alpha evolved back then. And then with the ChatGPT, now we have developed a plugin also, which if you ask something in ChatGPT, it will come to Wolfram Alpha servers and get the result out for that. So yesterday I was trying something very new. Maybe I'll share with you over here a live example for that. So I asked ChatGPT this question. So, and I'll ask this question to you first. So here is my question. If I run with the speed of 10 kilometers per hour, so what is my running speed? 10 kilometers per hour. And I run for 120 minutes. Okay. After 120 minutes, how many meter distance I would have traveled? It's a simple mathematical question, right? Let's try to solve that. Who wants to give the answer? So I'm running with the speed of 10 kilometers per hour. And I'm running for 120 minutes. So after 120 minutes, how much meters I have covered or I have traveled? Any answer? 20,000 meter. Okay, let's see, I don't know. You are the experts of that. So nowadays, everyone asks ChatGPT these questions. So I said, okay, let ChatGPT solve this thing. So you see, I asked the same question. If I run for 10 kilometers per hour speed, after 120 minutes, how much distance in meter I have traveled? And it gives me a very detailed answer, you see, which is very difficult to do. It says, because you traveled 120 minutes, first let's convert that into hours. So it's 2 hours. Then it gives me the formula for distance, which is speed into time. And says, you need the time, you have the time, let's calculate it. Calculate it. And then it gives me the answer. What's the answer here? 1200 meters. You were saying, who is correct? How many of you say ChatGPT is correct? How many of you say ChatGPT is incorrect? So that is what I'm saying. ChatGPT is a very phenomenal LLM model, but treat it as an LLM model. It's not a computational package. So this was one of the biggest drawback of the LLM. So because you gave the right answer, you also get a USB drive. And these USB drives are sponsored by our local partner here in Philippines. And their name and their details will be on the USB. And with this, I lost my momentum, what was I was about to say. So, what I'm saying, this was the initial, not the drawback, let's give it some other word. It was something is missing in ChatGPT. And what was that? The understanding of the computational thing. Because what it was doing, it was looking what things should be next, and it was giving the answer. But there was no computational engine behind that. And they realized it very quickly. And then what happened? They reached out to us and then say, Wolfram Alpha, you are the computational engine. Can you do something about this? And we said, yes. So in the March this year, we developed a plugin. What that plugin used to do, if now someone comes and asks something computational questions, ChatGPT doesn't try to answer that. They send it to us. It comes to Wolfram Alpha servers, it gets computed, and then the results go back. And you see over here, like when it says, okay, how far is Chicago from Tokyo? So it is using the Wolfram plugin now. When you say, show me the path, it is again using the. So we then released the plugin for that. And I think this plugin is now only available to pro members of ChatGPT, for developer use only. It is not publicly available right now. Then we went one step ahead further of that. We said if we can develop a ChatGPT plugin, we should have users develop their own plugin for ChatGPT. And why is that important? Because most of the time, for example, coming over here, I noticed you have a law school. So that means they would have access to a lot of database of the previous rulings. And that database is not available to anyone else, because that might be the local confidential judicial system data. Now, if we want to perform certain ChatGPT or LLM analysis on that, the user cannot do that because that data is not available. If I ask something, what happened in this case in Philippines in this date, I will not get anything because we do not have the data for that. So we said, okay, let's give this opportunity to the users so that they can develop their own plugins and then use those plugins on their own individual private data. So that feature was then given in last month also. So if you want to use that, you will have the capability to develop all these things in the future projects also. Does this sound interesting? So don't always ask ChatGPT how to solve a question. You might end up with a wrong answer. So if you come up with the answer like 1200 meters, your teacher will know you use ChatGPT to get the answer. Okay. So the same technology which was used in Wolfram Alpha, okay, we then integrated that within Mathematica because both are our products. And Wolfram Alpha was only cloud-based application. And then if you do something in the cloud, you cannot utilize it further. You just see it over there. How you can use that information and move forward with that. And that is the basis of us integrating Wolfram Alpha within the Mathematica environment. Do you know what you are seeing on your screen right now? This is a Mathematica notebook. This is not a PowerPoint slide. This is a Mathematica notebook you are seeing, and that gives me the flexibility to use the live computational kernel available to me. And I can then use that to do any type of calculation. Like if you ask me like, what is the factorial for 34, I can just calculate it. If I was using a PowerPoint slide, I could not do that because I do not have the access to the computational kernel. Or maybe I can ask something more bigger, like a long, bigger calculation. And I can have even the result is so big, it is calculating it. And I can change those values anytime, and I can get the result. So that is the flexibility of using Mathematica even for my today's presentation, that if you ask me something, I can just show you the answers right away. I can tell you how you can do that. But the integration of Wolfram Alpha is also available in Mathematica. And how it happens, if I place the is equal to sign, and then I write something in plain English. Like in this example, I'm writing plot sin x. And then I execute the command. Now what is happening? It is talking to the Wolfram Alpha and then giving me the results of this sine wave. And it automatically tells me, or gives me a graph which is more aesthetically presentable, showing me the complete periodic cycle of the sine wave. But if I give it something more specific, like I say, okay, no, I want to see the plot of sine x, but I want it to see only from 0 to 2 pi. So now, because I have given it a more specific input, I will get a more specific output out of that. I can take another example, and it does not have to be mathematical in nature. So if you are from the chemistry background, you are doing something related to chemistry, you may be interested to know how this equation is being balanced, or what are the chemical formulas for this specific thing. And then I can something like octane plus oxygen gives me water and carbon dioxide, and I can see the result in the form of the molecular composition of that, as well as you see it is a balanced equation now. So everything is now available. And if you click on this plus sign, if you see there, you will see a plus sign over here. When you click on this plus sign, you will get a lot more information. Like, what are the structures of this chemical formula? What are the properties of certain formula being used? So you get a lot more information. Now, because this is in the notebook format, I can save it also. Because previously, I could only see that in the cloud. And once I closed the browser, the information got lost. But now, all this information is my notebook. I can save it. I can use it for further utilization. Or if it is some data-related thing, I want to perform certain more analysis on that, I can now do that. Because all the information is now available in my Mathematica notebook. Let's take another example. I want to see the heart rate of a 50-year male whose resting heart rate is 60 beats per minute, and it gives me a little bit more information. And if I click on the plus sign, you see a lot more information is here. And it also gives me the comparison between male and female. I didn't ask it, but it gave me the information because that information was available. And now, if I'm doing certain more analysis, like performing some more things, I can do that because now the corresponding data is available in my notebook. For example, I am doing certain types of analysis on the human body, like by eating which food, what you get. So maybe I can ask how much iron is in the 1 cup fresh orange juice, and it will go to the Wolfram Alpha and search me the results. Now you see, sometimes you don't get the results. So there's a possibility that we do not have that information readily available right now because we are not a search engine. Wolfram Alpha is not a search engine that it will tell you everything. On the back end, it has to be a computed data available. So there is a possibility sometime you might not get a result. But let's see if I click on show more results, can I get more information? I can still get a lot more information, maybe not the exact information I was looking for, but it's telling me a very good also, like the nutritional facts about the orange juice also. And then if I'm doing certain more analysis, I can start using that. Like what happens if some person is using orange juice on a daily basis, how much iron is going into his body? Maybe that is my research question. Then this will help me analyze further. Or maybe I have nothing else. I go to a shop and they say me, okay, the bank tells me you deposit this much money today and then after 3 years you will get this money. I just wanted to check if they are telling me truth or not. I can just make a daily interest table and get the future values. So if you are studying economics or something, you might be aware of how to calculate the future values and the current values based on the compound interest. So all this information which was firstly available only in Wolfram Alpha is now an integrated part of Mathematica itself. But if you are doing some research, is this all the information you need? No. You need to do a lot more things. So for example, Mathematica is also used as a programming tool. So do you use any programming software at this time? Any names? Do you use any programming? SPSS, Vivo. Any other example? Some people might use Python. Yeah. R. So these are all types of computational packages. Now, can I do all those things also in Mathematica? The answer is yes. So you do not only get the information or the data, you can also do all those computational and programming things also. How to do that is very easy. So rather than spending here, let's start with some example. So for example, I want to use Mathematica for teaching some concepts to my students. So maybe I come in the class today and I want to teach my students the behavior of the sine wave. How many of you know about sine wave? Any ideas? So for example, maybe I'm teaching very basic physics class to my high school students, and I ask them, okay, do you know how the sine waves looks like? So this is how the sine waves looks like. It's a periodic thing going up, going down. This is how the sine waves looks like. But what happens if I make certain variations to this sine wave? So what variations can I make? Any faculty member can help me here? So this is a question. If I have to show the variations in a sine wave, what thing I can change? Amplitude, yes. Anything else? Shift, which is phase basically, okay. What else? Okay. So what he's telling is, if I double the frequency, what happens? So I am varying the frequency now. So all these things you can change. You can have vertical shift, horizontal shift, all those things. So most of the important thing to learn about sine wave is what are the effects of frequency on this sine wave. So what happens if I double this frequency? This happens. What happens if I make this frequency 4 times? So you see how the frequency domain is changing. But it still looks like the same. Something is going up, something is going down. It's hard to imagine what is going on. Let's convert this into a model where I say, let's keep this rather than giving any specific value. Let's define this as a variable. Then I can change this variable at my own will. And let's wrap this around a function called manipulate. And then I tell Mathematica that this function variable will be moving from 1 to 10 maybe. You see now what happens to the graph? What happens? You see a slider bar now. It looks the same thing, but now there is a slider bar. So slider bar lets me slide. So when I'm sliding it, it is changing the frequency. How much changing the frequency I can also see there. And you see it is a live computational heaven. So I can see how increasing the frequency is going to affect my sine wave. If I want to see it at any specific instant, I can just type it and also see that. Another thing I can also add is someone tell about the shift. Basically, that's the phase, how it is shifting. I can also define that as a variable and say, okay, this phase may be from, and now I have 2 slider bars. One is for frequency and one is for the showing the shift in this highway. Now, within small things, I have developed from a static image to a dynamic model, which is be more interesting for the students to learn from. And they can also play around with this by themselves also. I can make a model, I can just post it on my online, if you are using any LLMS system, like Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas, if your university is using, high school is using, or you have your own personal website, you can just post it on there. And your students can play around and see what happens if they change the certain parameters out of that. I can make it more interesting. Rather than having one function, I can say, okay, make this also a variable, and let this variable be a list of more functions like sine, cosine, tan maybe. And now I execute this. Now I have the same model, but now I have the sine wave. I have the, oh, what happened? So I have the sine, I have the cosine wave, and I have the tangent wave. All in the same model where I can still change the frequency and the phase and the shift and see. So within like one line of command, I have gone from a static image to a dynamic image, and a lot more information is available now. So if I keep on working on this model, maybe in few more minutes, I can end up with a lab exercise page like this, where I can have the headings, what this course is about, like the name of the teacher, which class is it, some lag exercise, which will have the frequency changes, amplitude changes, some horizontal shift, vertical shift, all these things are, and a lot more list of functions. And then I also can have some like input text boxes. I can ask my student, what happens if you drag the frequency? And they can answer there, I noticed that, whatever they noticed. And then they can save this and send you back, and you can see if your students were able to understand the concept behind that. So this is all developed in Mathematica notebook, and you can share that and post that online also. Do you think it is still interesting? Okay. And this manipulate function you can apply out any other, any function also. Like for example, on this histogram, if I'm in a statistical analysis, I want to see the distribution, I can just use the same function on any other command also. And I can see how changing this variable affects the histogram. And I can see the current values. If I want to have some specific value, I can see at that specific value as well. So whatever the function you are using, you can utilize and convert that into a manipulate function. Develop that into a dynamic model. Now you can also develop your own models using the same way and the technique. But is there any way you can get access to the pre-built models already made by somewhere else? So you can only spend time on using it rather than developing it? So the answer for that is also yes. So we have this Wolfram demonstration website. So I'll open that here. It's demonstrations.wolfram.com. And you see it has almost like 1,200 pre-built models available from different topics. So for example, if I'm interested in a life size thing, I can go and I can try to find maybe if any model is there which I like, maybe in medicine field. So I can see there are certain models which are already pre-built, which are related to either image analysis or like temperature changes or anything. So I can just open any model from here. And the good thing is that you can download this model. So you see there is a link for the author code download. So you will be able to download the source code behind this model. And then you can make the corresponding changes to this model also. Every model tells about what this is doing, the details of that product, as well as if you need to use it for citation in your research paper, how you can cite this model in the research paper also. So let me maybe post the link of this in the chat for those people who are watching me remotely. So in the chat box, you will be able to get the link for this demonstration website page, which you can use. So all the participants can, from the chat box, can use that links also. What else you want to learn today? Any question comes to your mind? You have for me, like, how I'm doing this thing, can I do that in Mathematica? Think of this, and maybe in 5-10 minutes, give me the answer. Think on this question also. So let's take another example. So in this example, what I'm doing, I'm importing an image from online. So I'm giving it an online link, and from that online link, I'm downloading an image. And once I have this image, as I told you, I can apply the manipulate function on anything. Now I want to apply the same manipulate function on this image. And now with this image, what I'm trying to do is I want to blur this image. So the moment I change this slider bar, what it is doing, it is going to blur the image, because that is what I want to achieve. Now if I have achieved this thing and I want to deploy it on the cloud, all I need to do is just use this command called cloud deploy. And then it will give me a cloud object, where now the same thing anyone can use who has access to the browser. So for using the cloud-based, you don't need to install Mathematica on your desktop, because you are not using it on your desktop. You are now using it on a cloud. And you still have the same thing, where you can change the slider bar and you can see the corresponding results for that. So there is a very quick way of changing from desktop version to cloud objects. And you can be more dynamic in nature. Maybe in this example, what I am doing, rather than giving a specific image, I make an application where I'm saying you give your own image, whatever image you want to, and then use the blur function on that. So I have already made a small application. Now you give the input. So maybe anyone can click on this link, maybe import a picture So like for example, this picture over here, maybe set some level of blurriness and submit it. And they will see the image goes blur. And I'll also, what I do, I'll share this link in the chat for the virtual people to maybe click it, and then they can input their own picture and then set the values of blurriness value and then see the results. They can do that. With that, one more question might be coming to end. Like, what are the functions available? So you see, in Wolfram Mathematica, we have now almost more than 6,000 pre-built functions available. How to get the information about these pre-built functions is on the menu bar. If you see, there is a help. Under help, there is a Wolfram documentation. Under Wolfram documentation, you can get all these information and details. So if you are looking for any type of visualization and graphs, you can click over here. Maybe you want to see some geographical plots. You can just click on that function. You can have a geographic plot also here. And then maybe you want to see what is the looks like. Maybe you want to have let's take it from Rome to Manila. And then you can utilize this function from here. So all the details are available in the help desk menu. How many of you know about this book? Do we have people here from the mathematics department? Math majors? So this book is basically, someone told me, is called the fathers of the mathematics functions. Like any function you can think of in mathematics, any equation you can think of in the mathematics field is part of this book. And in our recent version, all the functions, all the equations which are mentioned in this book are now a built-in function of Mathematica. So that means that all of the functions which are all the equations which are known to the world now have a corresponding built-in function in Mathematica, which you can use. So either you want to use some calculus examples, or you want to solve certain integrations, you can now utilize all of those things in Mathematica directly, and maybe have the corresponding plots and the function over here also as well. All these types of visualizations, either you want to see some 2D visualization, 3D visualization, some specific data visualization, or specialized plots like Nyquist plots, root locus plots, all of these are now available as built-in functions in Mathematica. If you want to do certain 3D printing, the 3D printing is now also available directly in Wolfram Mathematica. Let's take some examples, like if you want to do certain statistical analysis, all those models, all those functions related to statistical analysis are now also a part of Mathematica. So for example, if you have a data set and you want to see the skewness and the kurtosis of that, you can create that. You can see the correlation of the matrix form, and then maybe have the graph grid for the matrix plot as well as the density histogram of that specific thing. All the 3D images in Mathematica Wolfram are like rotatable. You can zoom in, zoom out, and do all those informations. See all the informations there. Like for example, let me show you an example over here. So for example, this is a 3D graph. So when I make a 3D graph, all of these are like rotatable. You can rotate around, see what's happening at different curvax of those things. So let's take a lovely example, maybe using Mathematica. What I've developed is I've developed a surface practice. So for example, I have taught my students what are the equation of line is, what are the equation of parabola, what are the equations of elliptical cone and all those services. And then maybe I come to the class with this small model and I want to make my class more interesting. And I say, okay, can you tell me, just looking at the equation, what would be the name of this surface? Anyone can try to give the answer for this. Just looking at the equation, can you guess what will be the surface will be? Does this look like a line, a plane? What it is? Looking at the equation, can you guess? Someone in the virtual side, maybe write the answer in the chat. Can you try to guess? I think we do not have mathematicians here, right? No mathematician. That is the thing. Otherwise, they would have said like this. So I can see what is the name of the surface. Just clicking on this. That normally this is the equation of the elliptic cone. And then I can also see how the elliptic cones look like. Then maybe I'll just change it to a next question. This is a little bit easier. I can ask like, can you see, look at the picture and tell me what this surface is? I heard someone giving an answer. So you can see it's an elliptic parallax, and then you can see how that looks like. Oh, this one should be easy now. Okay, let's not, it's because it's the same thing. It's another equation, different variables. So that's why I said it should be very easy, because it was the same thing like before, but only the variables were different. So you can make these interesting, fun models and take it to the class. Let's take another one, which will be very easy, I guess. Let's see if I have another model here. In the meantime, if you think of any question, you can ask me, okay? I try to find another model which might be interesting to you to see. So I have a lot of database with me. Okay, this should be easy. Can someone look at this molecular plot and tell me what this is about? Which molecular plot is this? What is the name of this molecular plot? Water. Let's see. Oh, let's run this first. Water. Oh, it's correct. Who said water? He gets the... And then you can create a new problem. And then you can ask a little bit more difficult one. And you can say if now the students can just look at the molecular plot and tell what this is about. And you can also explain how this looks like. And you can just share it with your students also. They can just play it at home. They can keep on having a new problem every time they click it. And then they can just try to guess with that. So this way you can also make some interesting models and take it to the class also. Let's see if I can find another one. I don't know, this might be a little bit difficult. Okay, anyways. So all these things and features are now available in that. Are you guys interested in machine learning? Anyone does machine learning here? No. Image processing. All these things are now part of Wolfram language, Wolfram Mathematica. If you want to do certain things, you can do them directly also, like machine learning, image processing, control theory, and all these research applications are now available. So let's take a couple of questions here. In the meantime, I can think what else I can show you. So any questions from anyone in the auditorium? So here's an example of developing a whole like a lecture notes. So if I am teaching mathematics or any other course, and I want to develop a complete lecture series of my own, I can use that. You see, I can use all the like mathematical typesets things, class activities, along with the models, showing a little bit more things, explaining what this is. So I can develop the complete lecture series where I can take this as a lecture to the class, and I can just deliver my whole lecture from here. So this is an example of like a linear equations whole chapter being developed using Mathematica notebooks. Everything will have a corresponding model, some explanation of this, what it is doing, and then you can give the mathematical proof behind that and use these models to explain so that students can well understand what you are trying to show and achieve. Let's take one, because if you do not have any question, then I'll show you one example of a machine learning model I created. So this is basically one small model of a machine learning. What it is doing, it is taking the input as a string and then trying to analyze what is the probability that which language this word is from. So for example, if I write a word, it will try to give me what are the probabilities that this word looks from which language. So there's a possibility that this Salamat word has a Tagalog, but it also can have a Malay origin and a Spanish origin also. So it is trying to, so this is how the machine learning is working on the back end. And then I can ask maybe some other questions. Philippines, common words used. So I'm just trying to find some common words which I can test on this model. So maybe if I take another word and then so if I use another word, it's telling me that it's almost 100% probability that this is a Tagalog word. So this way you can utilize this, also developing some machine learning. You have your own data sets. You can import your own data sets into Mathematica, perform certain types of analysis, and do that. If you are performing differential equations, boundary equations, all of these things are available in that. And every topic itself is a very detailed in its own. Like, I cannot show you all the machine learning in 15, 20 minutes. So every topic I have very detailed presentations which I can cover for like a couple of hours. So for example, this is the presentation I normally do for machine learning. And it itself has 38 slides, which basically explains what types of things you can do, how supervised learning versus unsupervised learning, all of these things can be covered. And most of these things are available in my channel also. So I'll share the link on the virtual chat. So this is the link of my YouTube channel where I have posted a lot of videos. Like if you want to do this thing, what are the step-by-step ways to do that? Like if you want to do data analysis, what is the step-by-step solution to that? like how you import the data, how you clean the data, then how you utilize that data for further analysis on that. So all those things will be available on this channel also. Yes, someone else that can this analysis test results of students from a quiz exam? So yes, that can be also possible. Let me show if I have an example for this answer. Um, so for example, I made certain quiz or something like that, and I shared it with the class, and I wanted to have their input, and I want to see how the performance goes like. So in this example, what I'm doing, I've made a small, like a very small demo type of a survey question, and it is only taking one input. Like I ask someone like, what best describes you? So maybe I'll share this link with the chat team, and they can just answer this quick survey, because at this moment I might not have the values in my database. So for example, I'll just see how many value. So at this value, I'd only have only two inputs. From this survey, I only have two inputs. One person was telling I am a student, one person was telling I am a teacher in K to 12 education. So I've shared this link on the chat. So if you can quickly fill in that, I can show you how you can import your results in Mathematica and see the result for that. And the same thing can be done on any other thing, like it can be on a quiz thing. It can be on any other type of data. So if you can fill that over here, maybe I'll also fill a couple of them so that we have some data. Maybe I'll say, I'm a hobbyist. So your answer is submitted. Let's do something like academic. So answer is submitted. Let's see how many results I have now. So I can check the values. So I have 9 results now. Let's the results keep on coming. And as more results, you can see I can see the live results over here also. Every time I refresh this, I will have a new, if there is any new input over here, I would be having that input. So now we have 10 answers coming in. Still 10 answers. Let's see if we can have 4 or 5 more answers. So this way also, this is just giving an answer to the person who asked in the chat, can they develop like a quiz and then can see the results for that. So this type of questionnaire, you can also make any quiz out of that. Let the students answer that. You can then check those quiz automatically and have their results. So now we started with 2 inputs. Now we have 11 inputs. 11 people have replied, and I can see most of them are academic or faculty at higher education. All others are only 1-1 entries. So this is how you can also develop any quiz on that. So that is an example for that. I see there is one more question here. Can it show a structure of an enzyme? Yes. Give me a name of an enzyme, and I'll try to show that. So I'll search if I can find, because this is not my domain, so I have exactly no idea. So I'll open a new notebook so that we can all see. Let's see if it can have something. Enzymes. It's just treating enzymes as a word. But I'm pretty sure there will be some more information about that. But if you have your own enzymes, let me check in the documentation sector. Genomes I know are there. So there's a lot of genome data I know is available. So if you have certain genome data, you can call this. This is how you get the genome data for chromosome X genes, and there are some examples related to that. Some protein data is available that I know. So if you want to look like A2M, molecular plot for the A2M protein data, that is available. Let's see what else. A lot of chemical data is available. Sequence alignments and data in computation, sequence, biosequence things. So a lot more those things are available. And if it doesn't have the data, if you have your own data, you can always import your own data in Mathematica anytime. Any more questions? It says the first question is the hardest to get. Once the first question comes, everyone has the questions. So let's see who gets that first question. If we have no questions, we can finish it early because I spend a lot of time. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. So my question is about the use of different applications. Can it be considered as skills?
Sorry, say again.
Let's take if I am to use, let's say, application, I'll be able to search, let's say, things in the internet. Is it considered as skills? Let's say the use of your the apps that you have presented. So if I am to study it, will it also be considered as skills?
Oh, skills.
Yeah, skills.
Skills. Okay.
Yeah. Skills.
Everything you do, there are a lot of certifications available. So you do certain things, you get a certificate for that, and then you can put that certificate in your resume also. So you can say,
Okay.
like for example, I call myself I'm a certified trainer. So I have done a certification, and once I have done the certification, I can call myself like a certified trainer. So if I go on Wolfram website, I can see how many trainers are there. And all the information about those trainers will be available over there. So you see, these are all the list of the trainers. So these are from North America, these are from Europe, these are from Australia, Latin America, Asia, and my name you see in Asia.
Yeah.
Similarly, someone from India has also done certifications, from Taiwan, from Sri Lanka. So yes, when you do
Yeah.
certain things, you
So
get these certifications.
my follow-up question is, since it is considered as skills, let's take, for example, in teaching mathematics, so you need to teach the skills on how it will be computed manually. So based from this, my thoughts will be, since most likely it will be divided into two, so my first thought will be mathematics will be taught using the traditional way, wherein you are to solve manually, while the other one is I don't need to know how to solve it because there are applications that I can use wherein I'll just input those information, then it will give me the information. So will it be, or how can we reconcile the two, wherein do we need to concentrate on teaching math computation manually, or do we need to also teach these skills on how to use applications in dealing with concept of mathematics? That's it. Sir.
See, I'm not saying that this will replace the way the teaching is being done. How the teachers now utilize it is that they still use the traditional way of teaching, and they use Mathematica as a tool for a further enhancement. Okay, so they come to the class, they first give them what is the exact proof, but then after showing the proof, they want their students to understand like how this behaves, and then they sometimes make these type of models where they say, okay, now you have learned the proof how the elliptical cone looks like. So that's a mathematical proof behind that, how the equation of the line is. Like the equation of the line is y is equal to mx plus c. How that is derived, they give a proof in the class. After giving the class, they want that their students to understand the concept behind that also. There, they use technology so that students can now correlate. Oh, this is the same thing the professor talking about the line equation. So this is how they correlate both of things. So traditionally, it goes, both things will go hand to hand. This is not going to replace any of those things. This is just as a complementary to enhance the understanding. Because see, if you come and you give me a proof, I learn the proof, well and good. But it's hard for me to imagine how is the line crossing the tangent, because I cannot see that. But now with the technology, if you develop a model, you can see when I say a line is crossing the tangent, what does that exactly means? Or when I talk about three different phases like x, y, and z, what are the three dimensions? Because now you have a model. You can show them in the model. There, this technology will help you to complement your traditional system.
Because there are some concepts in math. Let's take example in statistics. If you're doing research, I don't need to know how ANOVA is computed. I just need to plug it in SPSS. I'll just get the results. I will not be asking myself how this value was computed, how the p-value arrived. So I'll just need to plug in my data, then I'll get the information. That's it.
That's it, yeah.
So there are parts in parts in mathematics that you don't need to know how it is computed, because it's already what you need to know is only the results.
Yes.
Okay, so
So
that's it.
I agree to each and everything you say, and that is what I want to show you over here. Suppose this is an example, okay? So as you mentioned, you are doing statistical analysis. In the same way, I'm doing some machine learning analysis, okay? From my perspective, I do not want to know which method this is using. All I'm concerned is that it is giving me the accurate result or not, okay? So you see, when I use this model, it automatically tells which method is using. I have not defined this model. You see, on top, I am not defining any method. I'm just giving my input. Based on this input, it is automatically analyzing that, and it is telling that because your input type was an image, you had 10 number of classes. Based on all these information and his own internal testing, it said logistic regression is the method for this. So from my point of view, it's the same way. I do not want to go into that. But if someone wants to go deeper, they still have the option to go that. So someone has a research who is doing on this method research, he can go deeper. But from my point of view, I'm okay with this. So both options are now available. You want to go deeper? Yes. You don't want to go deeper? Just utilize it like that.
But the problem is, most of the schools here will simply go in one direction. The options of learning or using applications most of the time is not open to others. You know. So they consider it as a form of cheating if you use, let's say, for example, applications. Let's say, for example, let's say for mathematics. So I'll just plug in, let's say, the integral of this function. Then I can already get the results. Then some of the professors will also ask you to, let's say, explain how it is being done. So my point here is, I think it is better if concepts in mathematics will be discussed in two ways: on how math will be enjoyed using the applications, and math will be enjoyed using the traditional way of learning.
Yeah. See, that is one of the main things, especially in mathematics, we do is we are not providing this as a source for you to cheat or something like that. This all information is available for you to be utilized in a learning environment. And I think these things goes hand in hand, because when ChatGPT was released, everyone was thinking now everyone will use this technology and there is no way to check if it is a pirated thing or not. Because anyone, if you ask someone, even if write an essay, they will not write an essay. They can ask now the technology to do that. So this thing goes hand in hand. So it's on individual person to utilize how to utilize the technology. Like I'll give you my example. I'm not going to blame anyone or going to share someone else. My own example. So when I was doing engineering way back in 1990s, so you know, in the first year of engineering, everyone has to study these courses like Introduction to Calculus and Algebra and all those things. And they involve all the integration questions to be solved. And our professor will give us an assignment, solve this. At the end of the chapter, there are 10 questions, right? So you have the assignment to solve those 10 questions. So we could like go and try to solve those 10 questions. Sometimes we could solve 3 questions, 4 questions. Another 6 are too difficult for us to handle because we were not the brightest of the brightest. So what should we do? I don't know. In our university, if I could go to the Xerox machine, I could get the answers for all the 10 questions. I think it might be same in all the universities around the world. Because some senior might have solved their question, those answers to those books will be available. So again, it goes hand in hand, how you want to use that. Technology can be used in very positive way, it can be used for the negative way. So I do not challenge your thought process. This is a very valid thought process, but it is what it is. So I think it's a valid question, but it again boils down to everyone. Like for example, anyone can use a pirated version of a software now. But some people will say, no, I'm not going to use the pirated version. I'm going to use an authentic version. So this is the same way like that. So any more questions? So if we have no questions, Dr. Nick, we can close this earlier. What do you say? See, the question is coming now.
Okay, so we compared Wolfram Alpha with ChatGPT. Um, so I'd like to ask po, these technologies are improving. They're improving as they go on. Do they have the capability but to be creative, or to, let's say for example, you have a problem and there are multiple ways to solve it. Could it think of another way, like that's not on the database, that it's going to answer based on its own, like because most of the answers here are coming from the database, right? So it's being generated. There's a specific answer to the problem. So could it answer? Could it create an answer on its own, a creative answer to a computational question?
Let's see this question in some example over here. So okay, why don't you give me some function? Come here, help me out. Give me any function.
Function.
Like 1 divided by x, what should be the value of this x? 3?
What was that?
Like what should be the value, like the exponential value of the x? I'm writing a function, so I want to have your input.
Okay, so let's say a very simple one, the absolute value of x, or
That is a very simple one, so I want you to make it a little bit more
okay.
challenging question. So give me some value, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
e raised to the fifth 5x.
Oh, 35, okay, I don't
35.
know if this is a solvable question or not. But let's see, take another variable over here. Let's see, give it some other value, maybe cube, okay? So I'm using some random thing, okay?
Yes.
Maybe it's raised 35. Well, see, oh.
Wow.
So it gives an answer, okay? Now, these answers are not coming from the database because I can use any type of an input. But system knows the way of solving these things, and that is how it is doing that. It knows that this is this type of question. How is this type of question is being solved? Then you can give it any variables. It's the same way when I make that application where you can give an input and it blurs. So the application knows how to blur an image. You can give it any image now. So that is the randomness in this available. And if I click on this plus sign, again it will come to the professor question that you are giving the solution for that. So even though this is a very big question like raised to power 35, it's a huge challenging question. If you have to solve it by hand, I don't know how you will solve it. See, such a big answer is coming. So there is a randomness. Most of the things are not coming from database. From database, things are coming which are factual in nature. Like this is coming from database. Like if I ask like population of Manila, now this is coming from the database. And then if I go down, it will also tell me the source from where this data is coming. So you see if I go down somewhere, it will tell me the source, data source, from where I'm going to get this thing, information. So now this information is coming from the database. This is not going to change. And this is going to remain whatever is the situation is. But if it is some other way of solving thing, it will have the built-in randomness into that. So for example, when I ask it something like GDP of Philippines versus Malaysia, okay? So it knows the GDP, it knows that Malaysia is a country. It knows that Philippines is a country, okay? In the database, it will have a GDP of Malaysia. In some other database, it will have the GDP of, and then it will combine it together. So then the computational things come. You see, it gives both the GDPs of the countries. And then it is computing on that data. So this thing in the database is not anywhere written that the GDP is 1 raised to ratio this. This is live computation happening. Because you have the values, so it is happening. Let's see what the further thing we can do. We have this value, we have this value. Let's take a ratio. Now this ratio will be thing. But yes, the factual data will be coming from the database. So someone quoted George Couros, and he is very right. The technology will not replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational, and very rightly said. Because if you use the technology right, you can help your students learn a lot more things better. So thank you for sharing this code. I think Arius. Can this analyze tells the students from a quiz exam, that is make the distribution? I already answered that. When I showed the survey question, like the survey question can be similar to any quiz. You can mark those quiz and then get the information and show the distribution for that. Yes.
It's okay. 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 What?
Or you can keep on sitting. You don't have to stand. Just keep on sitting.
Okay. So I fiddled around with Wolfram Alpha for a bit, and let's see. I fiddled around with some functions, and apparently they show a step-by-step solution on how you can arrive to that certain answer. For example, if I ask Wolfram what the derivative of sine of x would be, it would be cosine, and it would show the step-by-step process on how you get to that answer. In other words, it's showing a proof of sine, that sine of x, the derivative of sine of x is cosine of x. Pero sorry if I'm using Filipino words. But I'm wondering if in the future Wolfram Alpha can be used to prove very difficult functions. I thought of one function which is quite famous. It's e raised to the pi of I. If you guys know this, it would be -1. And I plugged it in, and of course it does show -1, but I want it to show if it can help me lead to that answer. Can it help me prove that this is indeed that?
So there are certain functions available which might help you to solve this question. Because as I mentioned, all the answers are not there. But there are the right tools available. So we do have a function called find equation, or we do have a function called find proof, which will help you to develop certain things, like how the process is that. You can utilize that, and maybe you can then get to the proof for that thing. So the built the raw material is available. Now how you put that together to your use, it's definitely it's someone's own ability. So there are certain functions which you can use. So there's a find proof function in Mathematica which you can try out. So with this, let's close the session, and I want to share a couple of more things. As part of this event, I have set up a site license for University of Makati. What does that site license means? That anyone who is affiliated with University of Makati, like either you are a student, you are a staff, or a faculty member, you can get access to the complimentary Mathematica desktop license. You might have received a link from your when you registered for this event already. So that is available for University of Makati staff, students, as well as faculty members. So if you use that license and you end up writing a PhD thesis or a master's thesis, you may want to add my name in that, okay? In acknowledgements. So thank you, everyone. Do we have a closing note? Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Pasha, for your lecture. Thank you for acknowledging the potential of Filipinos, for introducing Mathematica as a means to direct it to the right direction, for also clarifying that the importance of teaching how math should work so that technologies like Mathematica could be used to enhance the skills learned for advanced purposes. No one can replace great teachers. Ika nga dun sa quote kanina, um, great technology in the hands of great teachers makes a great life. Anyway, thank you very much. Um, uh, we move now to the awarding of the certificate. It will be a digital certificate. We will be sending it to you through emails because, you know, we want to save the environment. I have the honor to read the certificate. This certificate is awarded to Mr. Farid Pasha for having served as the resource speaker of the Research Colloquium Day 3 entitled Mathematica in Education and Research, held at the Multimedia Room 507 HPSB and via WebEx this 12th of May 2023. Given this 12th of May 2023 at Multimedia Room 507, HPSB Building, HPSB University of Makati, signed by Director Florante E. de los Santos and Vice President for Planning and Research, Ederson D.T. Tapia. May we call on the stage our consultant, Dr. Nicamil K. Sanchez, and of course, Mr. Pasha for the picture. A round of applause, everyone. Thank you very much. For all the attendees, let me read the certificate of attendance. This certificate of attendance is awarded to all of you to prove that you have attended the research colloquium entitled Mathematica in Education and Research at the Multimedia Room 507, HPSB, and via WebEx on the 12th of May 2023, given this month of May 2023 at the 9th floor, HPSB Center for University Research, University of Makati, signed by our research consultant, Dr. Nicamil K. Sanchez, and our director, Florante E. de los Santos. Please allow us 5 working days to send your copy. Before we close the program, you may capture or scan now the QR code for your evaluation on the screen. For our attendees here in the hall, if ever your camera cannot detect the form, the QR code is also available outside the hall. Ayan po siya. While you're doing that, I would like to invite everyone to participate in our 6th University Research Congress, which will be held on October 11. Balik lang po muna. Babasahin ko na lang, Sir Mark. Which will be held on the 11th to 12th of October 2023. That is Wednesday and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The theme of this year's Research Congress is Achieving Global Excellence Through Institutional Synergy. We will be sending out online meeting link soon. Of course, formal invitation to your institutions. Ayan. I hope everyone has already scanned the QR code. Also, those who are attending through WebEx, hopefully you've already scanned the QR code for the evaluation. Ayan. Let me invite everyone again to the 6th University Research Congress, which will be held on October 11 to 12, 2023. That is Wednesday and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The theme is Achieving Global Excellence Through Institutional Synergy. For institutions who are interested in participating, we will again open the call for papers next year. Okay, that ends our program. Thank you everyone for your time. Once again, I'm Vincent Barcelona from CUR. Thanks for dropping by.